Welcome to Bright Minds. I am the Seeker. I seek the truth about reality. In the last video, an attempt at answering skepticism, I shared my thoughts about how we may answer skepticism. And since human knowledge is probabilistic in nature, I admitted that I couldn't completely refute skepticism. But I was probably justified in believing that it was very unlikely that we live in a skeptical scenario, and that knowledge about the external world was possible. In this video, I will talk about the consistency we observe in nature and if we are justified in building knowledge on it. In the last video, I said something about the consistency of the external world and that we can know about it. It doesn't matter whether the apple is, as it appears, a simulated apple or an idea fed to my mind by an evil demon. The apple will always behave in a certain way. There is consistency in the external world that I can know about. I can explore and discover how the external world behaves, which is called doing science. That leads me to today's topic, which is the problem of induction. This problem was first put forward by David Hume. I will briefly discuss it, but I highly recommend checking the sources in the video description for a more complete picture of the problem and possible solutions. So, what is this problem? We usually observe things in the external world and we form conclusions that go beyond our observations. Let's take my apple as an example. If I hold it in my hand, then I let go of it, it falls to the ground. I can pick it up and let go of it again, and again it falls to the ground. I can repeat the experiment as many times as I want, and each time the apple falls to the ground. So I form a general conclusion about letting go of apples. They fall to the ground. I even make predictions about the future, and I say, if I let go of the apple again, it will surely fall to the ground. Now, is that a rational conclusion? Apparently, according to Hume, it isn't. Let me explain. How do I know that the apple will fall down when I let go of it? What justifies that belief? It's because of gravity, and gravity has always worked, and it always will. But how do I know that? It's because I assume that the future is going to be like the past. Whatever happened in the past will happen in the future under identical circumstances. I assume that there is uniformity in nature, and that nature, if everything is kept the same, behaves the same everywhere at all times. However, is that assumption justified? How do I justify it? For if I say that I don't have a justification for the assumption, then I can't rationally build knowledge on it. In other words, I cannot rationally claim that I know that the next time I let go of the apple, it will fall to the ground. So what justifies my assumption that gravity will still work in the future? More generally, what justifies my assumption that whatever happened in the past will under the same circumstances happen in the future? I could say that every time I had observed something in the past, then predicted that it would happen again in the future, under the same conditions, it really did happen again, and my prediction was correct. However, have you noticed what I've just done there? I've justified my belief that past events happen in the future under the same conditions by saying that I've seen that in the past, that things happening in the past happened in the future again. And that is circular reasoning. I am appealing to the very same thing I am trying to justify in the first place. I am appealing to past events happening again in the future because in the past I've seen things happen again in the future. So it appears that whether I admit I have no justification, or I use circular reasoning to justify the thing in question with itself, I am not rationally justified in assuming gravity will still work in the future, or that my apple will fall down to the ground. But how can that be? How can something that appears so obvious be in fact irrational? If that's the case, then why don't I jump off the top of some building, hoping that gravity will stop working? Is there a way to justify our knowledge about the future, or about anything that we haven't observed? In fact, I think we can have some sort of justification for our belief that the past will be repeated in the future under the same conditions. First, let's use the apple again. We can come up with two hypotheses. The first hypothesis says that when I let go of the apple, it falls to the ground. And that is always the case because there is a cause for that, namely gravity. And as long as gravity is there, the apple will always fall down. We have no reason to believe gravity will suddenly stop working or that the laws of nature are going to change. The second hypothesis says that the laws of nature can arbitrarily change and gravity can just stop working, and thus the apple doesn't necessarily fall down. Which hypothesis seems to be more credible? The hypothesis that best explains the situation is the first hypothesis, because it offers a general rule, a law of nature, a clear cause for what happens. The second hypothesis offers no clear cause why the laws of nature will change, and why gravity will stop working. And we are rationally justified in accepting the hypothesis that offers the best explanation. Second, we can accept circular reasoning in the case of justifying something so basic like reason. We use reason to justify the use of reason. There is no more basic thing that we can turn to justify reason. It's a method or a rule that applies to everything, including itself. Similarly, we can justify inductive reasoning with inductive reasoning. This leads me to the third point. Our knowledge about the future, like our knowledge about anything, is probabilistic. We can calculate the probability of a certain outcome based on observation of similar outcome. Let's say we randomly take a sample of rabbits, big enough to say that what is true about it is probably true about all rabbits, and we observe that 90% of the rabbits in the sample are white and 10% are black. We can rationally conclude that most probably 90% of all rabbits are white and 10% are black. We can say that if we randomly pick a rabbit from the population of all rabbits in the future, we have a 90% chance that it is going to be a white rabbit. This was a simplified example. The laws of probability are wider and more complex, and we can apply them to attach a probability to our knowledge. Finally, even if there is no reason to believe what applied to the past will apply to the future, it is still our best bet. For example, I don't jump off buildings because even if I am not absolutely sure I am going to fall down and hurt myself, I still don't want to risk the chance that I am going to fall down and hurt myself. There is still so much to be said about this, and I recommend checking the sources in the description below. If you have something you'd like to say about this, or you have a better explanation of what was discussed, please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and share, and to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Click the bell button too, to know about my videos as soon as they are out. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, until we meet in the next video, be safe and stay curious.